Welcome to another episode of the Style and Strategy podcast. So, today is all about really trying to support many of you who really struggle with the morning and trying to get up in the morning and get more done in your day where you actually get a little bit of time to yourself. So, I know I chat with a lot of women who sometimes aren't necessarily a morning person, but would like to go through that. So today I've got on the show Jada, who is the founder of the Rise and Shine Collective, who was a former night owl turned into a morning optimization advocate and mentor. She is a long term lover of living a big and healthy life and is a mum to three boys. In a past life, she was a Latin dance instructor and owns a Latin dance studio actually with her husband as well. Her passion, though, now lies in supporting women to rise and shine both in life and in business through morning optimization program and creating success habits, aligning her coaching and holistic business strategy and development consulting. So I really hope that you can walk away with a few hints and tips and tricks along the way to make your mornings that little bit easier.
I'm Sonya, a personal brand and style coach. My journey began in the corporate world and through lived experiences has led me where I am today. I've walked in those uncomfortable shoes, faced the same challenges and questioned my path to professional success while simultaneously navigating my personal style journey and the challenges that each decade brings. I wholeheartedly believe in the fusion of personal brand and style strategy. My mission here is to provide you with practical, actionable strategies and lived experiences to help you unlock your next level of success through the power of personal brand and style. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Style and Strategy podcast. I am so excited to have Jada here with me, who is founder and CEO of the Rise and Shine Collective. I've known Jada now for almost, I think it's about 18 months or so. And we've done a couple of lives together on Instagram. But really, I am so excited to bring her and the conversation that we're going to have today together because it's going to be all about your mornings and really optimizing those because that's where she really specializes. And I know that many of you either are really good at mornings and are a morning person, but I know I speak to many who are not and really would like some hints, tips, and tricks around how to really accelerate in that area. So, Jada, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sonya. I'm excited to be here and have this conversation and share this conversation with all of your listeners.
Amazing. Thank you. So why don't we start off at the beginning? Because I always find fascinating people's journeys to get to where they are today from a career perspective. So maybe if you could share with me, how did you go from being a complete night owl to now becoming a morning optimization advocate?
Yes, good question. And people often think that I just must be a natural morning person, and it's not the case at all, quite the opposite, really. So I came to wanting to become a morning person when I was the CEO of our family Latin dance studio and a mum of two at the time, and now have three. And I was in a cycle of working. I would say I was a workaholic. I only realized that afterwards, but had
People can
fallen into
relate.
yes, I'm sure people can kind of relate, or might be trying to pretend they're not, but maybe they are. Have a think about that. Yeah, and so I was really in a cycle of working through the days, and then I guess have always been juggling and balancing with the kids, and worked kind of flexibly, I guess, which has been great in that running our own business and making sure we could still pick up the kids and all that kind of thing, which then meant that I was often working at night, or I guess I was choosing to work at night in hindsight. And so first of all, prior to that, I was a Latin dance teacher for a decade. So I had just generally always been a nighttime person, since teenager, young adult, became a Latin dance teacher, would be up teaching till 10:30 at night, rehearsing after that, not going to bed till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'd always been a nighttime person. So when I had kids, that kind of continued. And then especially once they were a little bit older and I was back working, I would often then get into that work cycle, I guess, at nighttime and stay up working again till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I just didn't feel good. I was exhausted. I would say I was burnt out, although I didn't realize it at the time. I've always been really interested in personal development and business development. So I was always studying and learning around, developing my mindset and success habits and, how I could create the success that I was really looking for, how I could create the lifestyle that I was looking for, reading all of the personal development books and business development books and all that kind of thing. And so I knew that I needed to change or do more of the success habits. Things like, I'd always been an active person, but once I had kids and I stopped teaching Latin dance and things like that, I wasn't as active as I'd just always naturally been. So I was exercising, but not super regularly. So I wanted to exercise more regularly. I wanted to do things like meditate. I knew that things like journaling and learning and, on a daily basis would all be helpful. All of those really core and, daily success habits that I'm sure, lots of people have read about or heard about. And I just would never fit them into my day. I'd think, oh, I'll do that, once the kids are in bed, I'll read a chapter of that book. Or I was often reading business development books and things like that right before going to bed, which was actually wiring me up instead of calming me down, and just not being regular with any of those habits. And it was just getting to that point where, the business and lifestyle weren't moving in the direction that I wanted to be going in, even though I was working really hard and working all the time. And I just knew that I needed to make a change. And I don't know where I got, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly where I got the idea of then becoming a morning person and doing a morning routine. I don't know if it's because I must have heard something or whatever. But anyway, the idea kind of landed for me and kind of grew. And I was like, I think I need to completely change, I guess, my daily habits and my routine. And from being a night person to a morning person to fit it in. And I feel like that would be life-changing for me. I just kind of grew this sense of this is going to be for life-changing in so many ways, and I need to do this. It just kind of grew and grew. That did not mean that I started doing it straight away, but I started to try. I started to set the alarm earlier and started to read more about it, started to look into morning routines, started to look into how to change those habits and all that kind of thing. So yes, before we kind of then, I guess, go down that whole path, that's how I got to it, I guess, from that desire to implement more daily success habits and just basically realizing that I was just never doing it regularly within my day when I left it till later in the day. And I knew that if I wanted to make a big change in the way I was feeling in my life and in the success that I could create, then I needed to change something.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people can relate to that you see people around going, oh, yeah, I've got up really early, and I've managed to do all these things, or that morning time is the only time you kind of get to yourself before, chaos ensues,
Mhm.
especially when you've got kids and things like that have to get sorted. I guess that challenging piece is being able to go, you know what, I want to go do this, and yet then to actually implement it and start putting it in action. So tell us a little bit around how do you get from that vision, I really want this, because it's very similar to I really want to lose 5 kilos, or I really want to start exercising more.
Yeah.
It's all good to say it, but to actually then go, how do I start that, even think about starting that process, and what are some of the challenges that you face sort of along that journey?
Yes. And so now having, studied it for many years and then been sharing and teaching others to do so, I have much more understanding compared to when I tried to start putting this into place. So that's why I'm really passionate, I guess, about supporting other women to do that and make that journey quicker and easier Because if you understand some of these core aspects, then it's a whole lot easier and it's a whole lot faster. So one of the core things that you really need to look at if you want to make this change, and I think it's the part that's skipped over, and it's one of the aspects in the Atomic Habits book, which is a very popular book, and it's that you need to really align your self-identity with the new habit. Like you said, whether it's losing weight, whether it's changing what you're eating, whether it's whatever habit, becoming a morning person, getting up earlier, creating the habit of exercising 5 days a week, whatever it is, people usually focus, and I did this, I focused on the outcomes that I wanted, which is definitely important. We need to focus on the outcomes and be clear about that, what we're trying to go after, and really connect into that. And also on the steps, like what are the strategies? So I was there, of course, Googling and, listening to podcasts and reading all the books. Like, what are the steps and strategies to become, and because for me, I needed to become an earlier riser. You probably imagine if I was staying up till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning and I had young kids, I probably needed to get up earlier than I was, which I did, to be able to fit a morning routine into my life. So for a lot of women, that is the thing I think that holds for a lot of people, really. But I think especially, as mums as well, working mums, it's that time crunch in the morning, right? So, and then our days are nonstop. Like that was what it was for me. And I know it's a lot of women who we work with as well, who are working mums. Doesn't really seem to be another spot or, pocket during the day. It's hard to create another pocket during the day. And so for most of us, if we want to do a morning routine, we need to get up earlier than we probably were, plus change the way in which we're using our mornings. There might actually be a pocket of time there that we're just not utilizing well, or that we could utilize differently. But for most women I work with, they need to get up at least a little bit earlier. So it's changing the habit of what time they're getting up. And that is often the block to actually having the morning routine. We want the morning routine, but we want the morning routine because of the outcomes it's going to give us and the flow and effect. So we really want the actual flow and effect. So then we go, okay, we need a morning routine, but then hang on a minute, we have to wake up earlier probably to fit a morning routine in. And so there's actually, I think what's really important to understand is there's multiple habits that we have to break and create to create a morning routine. Generally speaking, for most women that I work with, it's going to be habits around your evenings. It's going to be habits around maybe your waking time. It's going to be habits around how you use your mornings. And so we're not just forming one new habit, like I want to drink more water or I want to move my body for 10 minutes each day. That's like a part of, hopefully, your morning routine should be. It's multiple habits. And that's why it actually, if it feels hard, it's because actually it is quite hard because you're doing multiple habits. So when we talk about changing those habits, a lot of people focus on the outcomes and then the steps and the strategies, but they miss what I mentioned first, which is aligning themselves, the way they see themselves, their self-identity, the way they talk about themselves, the way they feel about themselves. So their self-identity needs to become a match for the new habits that they're wanting to create. And that is often kind of skipped over. And so if we skip over that, we might be able to stick with the new steps and strategies for a few days or even maybe a few weeks, but it's hard to have those habits stick long term and for them to become your new way of life if you don't match your self-identity with those habits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And so when you say that self-identity, what does it mean to you? And what tangibly could someone potentially say, okay, so yeah, I want to be a morning person, but is that actually like self-actualizing it and saying, I am a morning person because of X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I love that question because, we hear so often, right, in the entrepreneurial world, in, business success and all that kind of thing, like we need to become the woman that is a match for the success that we want. And it's true. But I'm with like, how? I think I'm a very kind of like, but what are the steps and strategies? And it's partially that, but it's also partially else. So yes, so very tangible things that we can do to match our identity with the new habits in this case. In this case, the habit, well, multiple habits in relation to becoming more of a morning person and doing a morning routine that's going to both nurture and grow you in a way that supports your goals and your season of life. I think that's what I help people with specifically, is to change some of our, I guess sometimes we have to change some of our core beliefs about ourselves. So for example, our core beliefs and also our thoughts and what we say about ourselves are some areas we can really focus on in relation to this. So, for example, it's so common, I know I used to have, I would say and I would think and I believed that I was a night owl, that I was a nighttime person and that I wasn't naturally a morning person. Like that wasn't naturally, maybe even I had many times where I was like, maybe I just like, it's not in my DNA. Like, maybe I just am not made up to be a morning person. And so we'll have this in all all sorts of areas in our lives. We just see ourselves as a particular thing. And so when it comes to shifting that, for example, it can be challenging or feel uncomfortable to start off by suddenly saying before you really, before you're actualizing it, like, oh, I'm a morning person. That can feel fake or it can feel out of alignment. So there's a couple of things we'd have to kind of dig into. You can still do that and say that and start thinking that because our subconscious mind is going to take that in. So whatever we tell our subconscious mind, it's going to take in. And so when you start saying those things repeatedly, your subconscious will start to take that on as truth. So you can absolutely say that to start with, even if you're not yet. But I know for a lot of people that feels uncomfortable. So it's actually catching and shifting things. Like, for example, instead of saying before you really are, I am a morning person, or I love mornings, or I love getting up early, which might feel like a stretch of the imagination. I understand. You can start with things like, my mornings support me. I use my mornings in a way that support me and my goals. Or I am becoming a morning person. So you're starting, and so when you start to think or say, oh, it's so hard to get out of bed in the morning, or whatever it might be, like if you think about some of the, I guess, like negative, quote unquote, negative or unhelpful thoughts or beliefs or things that you might say about yourself in relation to the habit you're looking to change, like being a morning person, or if it's more around the getting up early, or if it's more around the morning routine, whatever is like the strongest part for you in relation to that, you could make a list of all of the negative or unhelpful thoughts, feelings, beliefs, words that you say in relation to that about yourself, and then kind of flip them to the positive and come up with some statements that you can replace those with, and basically look to catch yourself in the moment when you're thinking it or saying it, to redirect that to the more positive and supportive one, and purposefully read, say, and write down the positive ones regularly to feed your subconscious mind that new message. So there are other ways to go about it, but that's a place, like that's an exercise that's really tangible that you can start with to help you start to shift the way you see yourself, think about yourself, and some of your core beliefs. And we can go a lot deeper into shifting core beliefs and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a really good place to start, because it's about shifting, how you think about yourself, how you see yourself, and some of those core beliefs. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I think you'd be able to use those techniques, as you said, in lots of different places in your life, depending on what it is that you potentially are going after.
Absolutely.
The morning, is there some obstacles that I guess women come up with when they finally start to do it and they start to get up in the morning? Should they be having particular, or is there a recommended, like you should be I don't know, going and exercising. You should be going. Is there a particular path of things that's a great way to kick off a morning?
Yeah, well, so I really work with women who are ambitious and they want to do, they want more success in their life, either in their career or in their business, but they want to do that while they feel good and not at the expense of their health and their family, their relationships, and all that kind of thing. And so I always say that you really want to match your morning routine to your goals and also your season of life. So it might look slightly different for different people. But there are some core things that are going to give us a really holistic outcome for how we, I guess, for our well-being, but our mental well-being, our physical well-being, and our emotional well-being. And we really want to look at including things for all of those areas so that it's a holistic experience. Because a lot of people come into it, and I know that part of what I was looking for is, to be more productive and help my success in life and business and all that kind of thing, only to realize after a number of years that we get that from self-care and self-nurture and, growing ourselves internally. And so really the mornings are focused on that, which will create more productivity, more clarity, more energy, all of those things for our days, which will allow us more capacity, energy, and productivity to go after the things we're going after. But the morning itself is the morning routine. Like, yes, it's a great time to be productive and to work, but we actually want to fill and fuel ourselves and fill ourselves up first thing in the morning so that we are feeling good, so that we are growing our capacity, so that we're choosing how we move into the day, where our focus is, and all that kind of thing. And so, yes, a few key things to include in a morning routine for that kind of outcome or those kinds of outcomes is absolutely moving our body. We don't want to just exercise because of the physical outcome of doing that, but it's also how it's going to help us feel emotionally and what it's going to do for our brain and our mind. So the exercise is going to help us in so many different ways. So exercising is absolutely part of a recommended, really holistic routine. Journaling is really wonderful and it does so many different things and it can be used in so many different ways. But even at a base level, it's a time to reflect and process our thoughts, which is really important as leaders when we are busy through our days. We're leading families, we're often leading teams, all that kind of thing. We need time to think and we need time to process and we need time to just kind of be still as well. Like, just go inward, like rather than looking outside. If there's a big challenge in our life or there's something difficult that's going on, often we're looking outside. We're checking, what's the best way to go about this, or, what's a strategy I can use, or what's a leadership this, or, we're looking outside, but taking that time to go inwards and feel, well, what do I feel like is the best next move, or how do I feel about this, or what do I really want to get out of this situation, or what would my own advice be for myself if we stop and think about it in that time? So we can use journaling in so many different ways. And some key parts of journaling for the clients I work with, we use a little bit of a like daily based journaling to give some really tactical. I love giving tactical things. Is just a little bit of time, just free form journaling, which I always found like I wasn't a journaler and I was like, oh, I don't really know. Like it feels a bit weird to be like, dear diary. But actually having that time and not worrying about it, just writing down whatever comes out. And it might be thoughts, it might be processing, it might be ideas, whatever it is that just kind of flows out. It can even be just a couple of minutes and spending some time as well, writing down things you're grateful for, a gratitude practice. Again, I found that awkward to begin with. I'm like, oh, what should I write down? Like, oh, and I find people are like in the journaling camp or they're outside of the journaling camp. And the same thing with gratitude. Like, I'm just really not into gratitude. I'm like, interesting, because I used to be a bit like that. But what I've found is that when I focus on that gratitude, I see more all through the day after having practiced it now for a long time. You start to see more that you are grateful for. And the more you see it, the more is likely to actually happen. I mean, that's like a whole other path, but yeah, a little bit of gratitude and also planning. Like we live such busy lives that we often will just go into our days by default, and then the day just like runs away from us. We kind of maybe have stuff in our calendar and, appointments, and we kind of have an idea of how the day needs to go. But taking that little bit of time in the morning to kind of really think through your day, check in with what your top priorities are for the day personally and professionally, so that you are setting yourself, Jack, up to prioritize those through the day and to feel like you've got more control. Like, where do you need to have boundaries? What is your focus? What do you want to bring into the day? How do you want to feel through the day? And actually choosing some of that. And so we can do all of that through our journaling. And then the other two core parts that I would suggest, especially for ambitious women, working women, business women, is some meditation or visualization, which is just bringing that stillness in, and also some learning time. It's so important to be learning and sparking our brain. And, again, it's not just about learning the thing. Obviously, by learning something new each day, we can, move forward in our career. We can learn how to do different things to help our business grow. We can even use it to learn a hobby for fun or whatever. But we're also helping our brain, become better at remembering things, getting our neurons, wiring and firing, which is good for longevity. Like, there are so many different aspects as well to learning. So it's really that exercise, journaling, some meditation or visualization, and some learning time that is really recommended for that really holistic, I guess, success morning routine.
And so if someone actually needed some help getting that morning routine down pat, what sort of support do you give in the program around that? How does that actually work?
So the first thing that I focus on with people is aligning their identity with this, combined with getting into action. So a lot of the time we can learn, but it's really in kind of combining that belief in what we're wanting to do ourselves and where we're wanting to go with something, and the action, and putting those together. And so I really focus on activating women to get into something to begin with. So taking some kind of action. And so it's really about both aligning that belief and that identity with the action to begin with, to kind of kickstart the habit. And some of the first areas that we really focus on are the evenings. So the evenings are usually can become like a bit of a road bump, a bump in the road, because everyone focuses first on the mornings. Like, I'm going to set my alarm earlier. I'm going to figure out what to do in the morning. And yes, we focus on how do we make that easier. But when we focus only on the morning and don't really focus on the evening, oftentimes our evenings aren't supportive to the morning that we're desiring. So one of the first things that we do is focus on how do you set yourself up the night before for your morning success. In part because I know that that's what a lot of people struggle with, and also in part because it wasn't until I put that piece of the puzzle into place for myself, and that was a big struggle for me. Like, it's always the point, if I go through anything at all, it's, oh, my evenings are slipping again. I need to focus back on my evenings. But really, your morning success is going to start the night before. And so it's setting up a supportive bedtime that is going to support the ideal rising time that you want. It's setting yourself up to already be prepared for your morning routine. So you have out what you need for it, you know what you're going to do. And it's also getting into the habit of winding down. Like, so often we kind of go to bed in this kind of heightened nervous system state, whether, like I used to, you're reading a business or personal development book right before going to bed, and your brain's like wired around that, like with ideas, or whether we're scrolling on social media, which can seem relaxing, but actually it's very stimulating, and, all the other things that come with that. These people I should be doing more. These people are doing that, or whatever it might be switching on, you might feel like you're kind of in a relaxed state, but it's not really helping you to wind down your nervous system. Or, depending on what you might watch in the evening, if it's like, I don't know, stimulating as opposed to relaxing. So it's
Mm.
also just about learning what you need, what it suits you, what you like to do to bring, calm down your nervous system. So you're heading to bed, not just at a supportive time to get enough rest, but also in a way where you're going to have quality sleep. So we definitely focus on that evening side of things as well. And I will say this does not mean you have to be a total nana and go to bed early every day of your life from now on to be a morning person, and you can never go out for cocktails with your friends, and you can never watch a few episodes at night time. Like, a lot of people are worried about that, and I get it. You have to, never do any of those things again. Just saying. But yeah.
Love it, Jada. And so I'm taking a slightly different tack. Well, actually, firstly, if someone wants to find you and maybe, get some more help around that, where's the best place to do that? And for my listeners, if you are interested, I will have it all in the show notes. But Jada, maybe if you could let everyone know where to best find you.
Yeah, come and connect to me on Instagram if you're there, because I just find it's a lovely place to connect and chat in the DMs. So you can find me at the Rise and Shine Collective on Instagram and come over and say hi in the DMs. I'd love to have a chat and talk to you about, what your goals are with your mornings and see how I might be able to help you, or just connect, because I love just connecting with other women out there and, making new friends. So that's probably the best place. If you're not on Instagram, I am on Facebook as well. The same, the Rise and Shine Collective. So yeah, come and connect.
Amazing. Thank you, Jada. So now I'm going to fire off with 3 fast questions.
Yeah.
So, what is your go-to signature style piece that you feel truly represents your brand, and why is it an essential part of your wardrobe?
Oh, and I knew we were going to have these style questions, and I still don't have a really good answer. Like I said, I think I need to do some work with Sonya. And I spend far too much time these days working from home in my active wear. So maybe my active wear is my signature style. I would say in my current wardrobe, a go-to of mine, and so interesting, Sonia, because we were at an event together, and I was wearing something that I love that I feel like represents me, and you pulled out a card in a game that was around, something about style, or why are you dressed, how does your clothes today represent you? Anyway, I was wearing this piece, which was so funny, which is kind of like kimono-y, I don't know, flip jacket? I don't know what you'd call it. The yellow one? Yes. And I just, whenever I put it on, I can wear it, it can kind of go over a singlet and jeans, or it can go over a dress. You can kind of dress it up for evening, or you can wear it during the day. And it's yellow. I love yellow. And yeah, I feel like it's just a combination of things. It's kind of vibrant, and it's a little bit classy. It's a little bit kind of casual as well, and patterned, and it just makes me feel good and just, like myself. I don't know if that really answers the question properly.
No, I think it does. So, it is all about you and what make you feel like it's representative of your brand. And actually thinking about that conversation that we had with that card. Yeah, definitely. I think you can really see that when you've got that on, it represents that sort of vibrancy that you've got about you, which is all about your personal brand as well.
Yes.
So, second question is, for our listeners looking for inspiration, book maybe are you currently reading or have read or listened to that has had a significant impact on either your personal brand or maybe your leadership journey?
Oh, yes. I've always got a number of books on the go, and I'm going to have a mental blank now because about the ones that I'm currently reading. But I've been reading, I think it's The 7 Laws of Leadership by, is it John Maxwell?
Yes, the 21.
21. Yeah, I'm like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is another one
Yes.
I've definitely read, but this is the 21 Habits of Leadership, which I've been really loving. That one at the moment has been on the go. I've also been reading, this other one is Stolen Focus by Johan Hari, and I've been really loving it in relation to, where our focus goes, what we kind of need for that thinking space and just the current, environment of busyness, and how important it is to have that free thinking time, like the two-way, the thinking time that is just kind of open-ended thinking, just not thinking on a specific subject, but letting your mind wander
Yeah.
is what he talks about in there. And I was like, wow, that is so true. Like we often are so, I'll listen to a podcast while I walk. I'll listen to an audiobook and all this kind of thing. But it's really interesting how we also need that time, which is something, again, you can do in your mornings, to just have just open thinking time to let your mind wander, as well as focused thinking time where we're not being distracted by other things and we're thinking on a particular topic. Anyway, I've been finding that interesting. That's one I've been reading lately.
It sounds like a good one. Well, talking about mindset, and I'm sure you've got a plethora of these, we all have those days. We need an extra boost.
Yeah.
What's your quick mindset ritual that helps you feel empowered and ready to tackle anything?
Well, obviously, like my mornings are a big one where we're doing a few different things. And honestly, so I was sick the other week and I didn't get up early in the morning. I didn't do my morning routine. I rested, learning to rest. And then I was feeling better and I was back up doing my morning routine again. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you just feel, I don't know, just life feels more magical. Like the world seems more magic. Like you see more, you feel more optimistic and energized, and like there's more magic in the world if for want of a better way of putting it. But other than that, because there's a few, I guess, mindset-y types of things, is a couple of things I do. I will pause and just kind of go outside and just kind of get some sunshine rather than just trying to keep on keeping on, which is what I used to do. Just pausing. Or, yes, disengaging. So something to disengage, whether if it's a bigger thing, going and actually having a bath or something like that, or going for a walk rather than just trying to push through something to re-energize. But I use a variety of different things. Sometimes I'll just do a quick 5-minute meditation. Sometimes I'll go for a little walk. Sometimes I will just walk outside and take a few breaths. Just some little things, through the day you need to just have that shift and reconnect. And you can feel yourself disconnecting with how you'd like to be and just everything becoming overwhelming. It's just taking that pause and doing something to redirect that energy and mindset.
I think that's such an important point, because I think, as you said, because we're so busy and you're going through the motion, that actually being able to deliberately take a pause and disconnect becomes so important and so critical.
Yes, which I guess is the core thing, right? It's not what you then go do. Obviously, there are purposeful things you can do, but it is the habit of pausing and disconnecting rather than just pushing through. Yes.
Definitely. Jada, it's been absolutely fascinating to chat with you all about things morning. So hopefully we've inspired everyone to have a little bit of a deeper think about how they could get there or use their mornings in a different way. Again, if you want to connect with Jada, her details will be in the show notes. But thank you so much, Jada, for the chat, and I really enjoyed it today.
Thanks so much for having me, Sonya.
Thank you so much for being part of this inspiring episode. If you found value in today's discussion, please don't keep it a secret. Share it with a friend on social media, tag me at Your Style Collective, and leave a review. Your support means the world. Join me again next week for another empowering episode of Style and Strategy, the Leadership Series. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, you're already taking that first step towards your transformation journey. See you next time.